Namaste, Dandavat Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti and Madhava Puri Maharaj, we're here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 6, Text 25. Yayo Surah Strihak Chattar Avarhuyasva Dishnyata Kridanti Pumsa Sinchantyo Vighaya Rati Karshita. My dear Chatta, Vidura, the celestial damsels come down to those rivers in their airplanes with their husbands, and after sexual enjoyment they enter the water and enjoy sprinkling their husbands with water. Purport. It is understood that even the damsels of the heavenly planets are polluted by thoughts of sex enjoyment, and therefore they come in airplanes to bathe in the rivers Nanda and Alakananda. It is significant that these rivers, Nanda and Alakananda, are sanctified by the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, just as the Ganges is sacred because its water emanates from the toes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, so whenever water or anything is in touch with devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is purified and spiritualized. The rules and regulations of devotional service are based on this principle. Anything in touch with the lotus feet of the Lord is immediately freed from all material contamination. The damsels of the heavenly planets, polluted by thoughts of sex life, come down to bathe in the sanctified rivers and enjoy sprinkling water on their husbands. Two words are very significant in this connection. Rati Karshita means that the damsels become morose after sex enjoyment. Although they accept sex enjoyment as a bodily demand, afterwards they are not happy. Another significant point is that Lord Govinda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is described here as Tirtha Pada. Tirtha means sanctified place, and Pada means the lotus feet of the Lord. People go to a sanctified place to free themselves from all sinful reactions. In other words, those who are devoted to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, automatically become sanctified. The Lord's lotus feet are called Tirtha Pada because under their protection there are hundreds and thousands of saintly persons who sanctify the sacred places of pilgrimage. Srila Narottam Das Thakur, a great acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, advises us not to travel to different places of pilgrimage. Undoubtedly, it is troublesome to go from one place to another, but one who is intelligent can take shelter of the lotus feet of Govinda and thereby be automatically sanctified as the result of his pilgrimage. Anyone who is fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Govinda is called Tirtha Pada. He does not need to travel on various pilgrimages, for he can enjoy all benefits of such travel simply by engaging in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. Such a pure devotee who has implicit faith in the lotus feet of the Lord can create sacred places in any part of the world where he decides to remain. Tirti Kurvanti Tirtani, Bhagavatam 1.13.10. The places are sanctified due to the presence of pure devotees. Any place automatically becomes a place of pilgrimage if either the Lord or his pure devotee remains or resides there. In other words, such a pure devotee who is engaged 100% in the service of the Lord can remain anywhere in the universe, and that part of the universe immediately becomes a sacred place where he can peacefully render service to the Lord as the Lord desires. Text 26. Yayos tatsnana vibrasta nabha kunkumo pinjaram vitrishopi pibantyamba Payayanto gajagaji. After the damsels of the heavenly planets bathe in the water, it becomes yellowish and fragrant due to the kumkum from their bodies. Thus the elephants come to bathe there with their wives, the she-elephants, and they also drink the water, although they are not thirsty. 27. Tarahe ma maharatna vimana satta sankulam justam punya janastribir yatakam satta didganam. The airplanes of the heavenly denizens are bedecked with pearls, gold, and many valuable jewels. The heavenly denizens are compared to clouds in the sky decorated with occasional flashes of electric lightning. Purport. The airplanes described in this verse are different from the airplanes of which we have experience. In the Srimad Bhagavatam and all the Vedic literatures, there are many descriptions of vimana, which means airplanes. On different planets, there are different kinds of airplanes. On this gross planet Earth, there are airplanes run by machine, but on other planets, the airplanes are run not by machine, but by mantric hymns. They are also used especially for enjoyment by the denizens of the heavenly planets, so that they can go from one planet to another. On other planets, which are called siddhalokas, the denizens can travel from one planet to another without airplanes. The beautiful airplanes from the heavenly planets are compared here to the sky because they fly in the sky. The passengers are compared to the clouds. The beautiful damsels, the wives of the denizens of the heavenly planets, are compared to light. In summation, the airplanes with the passengers which came from higher planets to Kailash were very pleasant to look at. "28. Hitvayakshishvara Purim Vanam Sogandikam Chatat Drumai Kamadugha Hridyam Chitramalya Falachadai." While traveling, the demigods passed over the forest known as Sugandhika, which is full of varieties of flowers, fruits, and desire trees. While passing over the forest, they also saw the regions of Yaksheshvara. Purport. Yaksheshvara is also known as Kuver, and he is the treasurer of the demigods. In the descriptions of him in Vedic literature, it is stated that he is fabulously rich. It appears from these verses that Kailash is situated near the residential quarters of Kuver. It is also stated here that the forest was full of desire trees. In Brahma Samhita, we learn about the desire tree which is found in the spiritual world, especially in Krishna Loka, the abode of Lord Krishna. We learn here that such desire trees are also found in Kailash, the residence of Lord Śiva, by the grace of Krishna. It thus appears that Kailash has a special significance. It is almost like the residence of Lord Krishna. 29. Rakta Kanta Kaganika Svara Mandita Satpadam Kalahamsa Kula Prestam Karhadanda Jalashayam. In that celestial forest there were many birds whose necks were colored reddish, and whose sweet sounds mixed with the humming of the bees. The lakes were abundantly decorated with crying swans, as well as strong-stemmed lotus flowers. Purport. The beauty of the forest was intensified by the presence of various lakes. It is described herein that the lakes were decorated with lotus flowers and with swans who played and sang with the birds and the humming bees. Considering all these attributes, one can imagine how beautiful this spot was, and how much the demigods passing through enjoyed the atmosphere. There are many paths and beautiful spots created by man on this planet, but none of them can surpass those of Kailash, as they are described in these verses. 30. Vanakunjara sangrishta Harichandana Vayuna Adhi Punya Janastrinam Muhur Unmatayanmana. All these atmospheric influences unsettled the forest elephants who flocked together in the sandalwood forest, and the blowing wind agitated the minds of the damsels there for further sexual enjoyment. Purport. Whenever there is a nice atmosphere in the material world, immediately there is an awakening of the sexual appetite in the minds of materialistic persons. This tendency is present everywhere within this material world, not only on this earth, but in higher planetary systems as well. In complete contrast with the influence of this atmosphere on the minds of the living entities within the material world is the description of the spiritual world. The women there are hundreds and thousands of times more beautiful than the women here in this material world. And the spiritual atmosphere is also many times better. Yet, despite the pleasant atmosphere, the minds of the denizens do not become agitated because in the spiritual world, the Vaikuntha planets, the spiritualistic minds of the inhabitants are so much absorbed in the spiritual vibration of chanting the glories of the Lord that such enjoyment could not be surpassed by any other enjoyment, even sex, which is the culmination of all pleasure in the material world. In other words, in the Vaikuntha world, in spite of its better atmosphere and facilities, there is no impetus for sex life. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.59, Param Drisva Nivartate, the inhabitants of Vaikuntha are so spiritually enlightened that in the presence of such spirituality, sex life is insignificant. Text 31. Vaidhurya krita sopana vapya utpala malini praptam kim purushar dristva ta aradadrishurvatam. They also saw that the bathing ghats and their staircases were made of Vaidhurya money. The water was full of lotus flowers. Passing by such lakes, the demigods reached a place where there was a great banyan tree. (32) Sayojana satutshedha padhona vita payata paryakrita chalachayo nirnidastapa varjita. That banyan tree was 800 miles high, and its branches spread over 600 miles around. The tree cast a fine shade which permanently cooled the temperature, yet there was no noise of birds. Purport. Generally, in every tree there are birds' nests, and the birds congregate in the evening and create noise. But it appears that this banyan tree was devoid of nests, and therefore it was calm, quiet, and peaceful. There were no disturbances from noise or heat, and therefore this place was just suitable for meditation. 33. Tasmin Mahayoga Maye Mumukshu Sharhane Sura Tadrishu Shivam Ashinam Tyakta Marsham Ivantakam. The demigods saw Lord Śiva sitting under that tree, which was competent to give perfection to mystic yogis and deliver all people. As grave as time eternal, he appeared to have given up all anger. Purport. In this verse, the word Mahayogamaya is very significant. Yoga means meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Mahayoga means those who engage in devotional service of Vishnu. Meditation means remembering, smaranam. There are 9 different kinds of devotional service, of which smaranam is one process. The yogi remembers the form of Vishnu within his heart. Thus, there were many devotees engaged in meditation on Lord Vishnu under the big banyan tree. The Sanskrit word maha is derived from the suffix mahat, from the affix mahat. This affix is used when there is a great number or quantity. So Maha Yoga indicates that there were many great yogis and devotees meditating on the form of Lord Vishnu. Generally, such meditators are desirous of liberation from material bondage, and they are promoted to the spiritual world, to one of the Vaikunthas. Liberation means freedom from material bondage or nescience. In the material world, we are suffering life after life because of our bodily identification and liberation, and liberation is freedom from that miserable condition of life. Text 34. Sanandanadyar mahasiddhai shantai samsanta vigraham upasyamanam sakya cha Bhartraguyaka Rakshasham. Lord Śiva sat there surrounded by saintly persons like Kuver, the master of the Guyakas, and the 4 Kumars, who were already liberated souls. Lord Śiva was grave and saintly. Purport. The personalities sitting with Lord Śiva are significant because the 4 Kumars were liberated from birth. It may be remembered that after their birth, these Kumars were requested by their father to get married and beget children in order to increase the population of the newly created universe. But they refused, and at that time Lord Brahmā was angry. In that angry mood, Rudra, or Lord Śiva, was born. Thus they were intimately related. Kuver, the treasurer of the demigods, is fabulously rich. Thus Lord Shiva's association with the Kumars and Kuver indicates that he has all transcendental and material opulences. Actually, he is the qualitative incarnation of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his position is very exalted. And thus ends our reading for today. We will continue from text 35 on Monday. Were there any comments or questions from the devotees? Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Shanta Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to the worldwide devotees. Sama Bhaktivedanta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Nrsimhapuri Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Giri Govardhan Gopi Govardhan Dham Ki Jai, Shyam Kund Radha Kund Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi, Bhakti Devi, Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Scientific Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Institute Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari 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 Bol, Jai Srimad Guru Dasi Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai Guru. Sripad Krishna Keshav Prabhu Ji Ki Jai.
Dhanavad Pranam Soma Devi.